My name is Samantha. I'm 20 years old, and at the time this happened, I worked overnight shifts at a Walmart in a small town outside Jackson, Alabama. I wasn't in school full-time, so management liked putting me on nights. Back then, the store was still open 24 hours, and overnight stocking was considered easy work. Quiet, predictable. That assumption almost got me seriously hurt. My shift that night was from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Because it was a supercenter, there were technically other employees working, but working is generous. One cashier up front, a couple stalkers scattered across a building the size of a football field. Most of the time, you felt completely alone. I started the night in apparel, folding shirts and straightening racks. I wore one earbud in, like everyone did on overnights. Management rarely checked, and customers were scarce after midnight. Around 11:40 p.m., a man approached me. He asked if we had more flannel shirts in a different size. Normal enough. I told him whatever was out was all we had. He nodded, thanked me, and walked away. Nothing about the interaction stood out, except the way he kept looking back at me while pretending to browse. I convinced myself I was imagining it. By 1 a.m., the store had gone completely still. No carts, no voices, just the hum of lights and distant forklifts in receiving. I was reassigned to housewares, stocking shelves near the back of the store. As I worked, I noticed movement at the end of the aisle, someone standing where the shelves ended, watching. When I looked directly at him, he stepped back just enough to disappear. That's when I realized it was the same man from apparel, still empty-handed. I tried changing sections. I moved to grocery, then pets, then seasonal. Every time I stopped moving, I felt like I was being observed. Occasionally, I'd catch a glimpse of him at the edge of my vision, always far enough away, always pretending to shop. Around 2:30 a.m., I went into the back room to grab another pallet. I stayed there longer than I needed to, scrolling on my phone and hoping he'd leave. Eventually, I told myself I was being paranoid. I shouldn't have. I decided to work frozen foods, bright lights, open aisles, and cameras everywhere. As I stacked boxes, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned around, expecting another employee. It was him. He stood too close enough that I could smell cigarette smoke on his jacket. He smiled and said, "You keep moving around." I asked if he needed help. He said, "I'm just making sure you're doing your job." That sentence didn't make sense, but before I could question it, he walked away down the aisle. I reported it to the front-end supervisor. She shrugged. "Probably a vendor or inventory guy," she said. "They don't always check in." That explanation bothered me, but I went back to work anyway. At 3:15 a.m., I went into the employee-only storage hallway to grab overstock. Halfway down the corridor, I noticed the emergency exit door was open, just slightly. As I pushed my cart past it, I felt a hand grab my wrist, hard. I screamed and twisted free, dropping the box I was holding. The man stepped back immediately, raising his hands. "Relax," he said. "You weren't supposed to be back here alone." That was when I ran. I found another stalker near automotive and refused to leave his side. When the man approached again, he acted confused, apologizing and claiming he worked loss prevention for corporate. He even knew my name. The other employee believed him. I didn't. When my shift ended, I went straight to management. They reviewed the cameras. There was no record of him clocking in, no badge scan, no vendor log. What the footage did show was him following me through the store for nearly 4 hours, ducking into aisles whenever I stopped, waiting near employee-only doors, watching, always watching. The police were called. They never found him. 2 weeks later, I transferred to day shifts. On my first morning shift, I was stocking cereal when I noticed something taped to the inside of the shelf, a receipt, dated the night I worked overnights. On the back, written in pen, were 6 words. "You weren't supposed to notice." Everyone jokes about Walmart being a zoo, a place where the strangest people in society somehow all end up under the same fluorescent lights. I laughed at those jokes too, right up until one of them followed me home. This happened the Wednesday night before Black Friday. The store was open late, packed with people grabbing early deals, and I was there around 10:45 p.m. looking for a new external hard drive. I wasn't even planning on buying anything expensive, just something basic before the sales ran out. That's when I noticed him. He stood out immediately, tall, wide, dirty hoodie, hair matted down like he hadn't showered in weeks. He wasn't browsing, just standing near the electronics counter, staring. At first, I assumed he was waiting for an employee. I was wrong. When I grabbed the last hard drive from the shelf, he walked straight up to me. He told me he needed it. Not wanted. Needed. I apologized and said it was the last one. His face changed instantly. Jaw tight, eyes wide, like I'd taken something that already belonged to him. People were staring now. He raised his voice, accusing me of being selfish, saying I didn't deserve it, saying I didn't know what it was for. I walked away. He followed me halfway to check out, still yelling, until other customers started intervening. Someone joked that it was peak Walmart behavior, and the tension broke just enough for me to pay and leave. I thought that was the end of it. I got home around midnight. My parents were asleep. I sat in the living room, setting up the hard drive, when the motion light outside flicked on, then off, then on again. I told myself it was an animal, until my car alarm went off. I looked out the window and saw a vehicle parked across the street. Engine running, lights off. That's when the nausea hit. I locked the doors and woke my mom. She looked through the peephole and froze. I looked too. It was him. Standing on our porch, he tried the door. Once, twice. Then he started knocking. Slow, deliberate knocks, like he had all the time in the world. My mom called the police. The knocking stopped. We thought he left. Then the crash came from the back of the house. Glass. Breaking. I blocked the hallway while my mom and sister ran upstairs. I don't remember breathing. I just remember waiting for footsteps. They never came. The police arrived minutes later. They found him hiding behind our couch, clutching something in his hand. It was the Walmart receipt. My receipt. Folded neatly, with the time circled. The officer told us he'd been arrested earlier that month for following women home from stores. Different towns, same behavior, same patience. What still gets me isn't that he followed me. It's that if I had put that hard drive back on the shelf, he probably would have followed someone else.